Yeah, this is a late one. Haven't done one of these at night time before yet. Um, it's 10:20 at night. Today's the 24th, which makes it day 67 of quitting marijuana and video games. And I actually just had someone comment and ask whether or not I was going to start gaming again after I hit 90 days. And I've had other people ask me that. Friends of mine have asked me that about marijuana as well. When you get done with 90 days, you're going to start smoking again. And one of the people who asked me that question, I get the feeling that he wants to hear me say yes. Because I feel like he's waiting to hear that because maybe he's looking for validation that what he's doing is okay. And I'm not trying to be judgmental of my friends, their decisions anymore. I don't agree with a lot of their decisions, but I try not to be too judgmental about them as people when it comes to their decision making. But I guess I'll address it one at a time. For marijuana, the longer I go without it, and the more I look at the way that my life has improved since I stopped using, and how I've been able to accomplish more, become more productive, get better at my job, better in my relationship, better with my thoughts, better with my pursuit of things that are meaningful and not sort of short-lived and flippant. I know that there's people out there who can smoke marijuana in moderation and who have full and happy lives doing it, but I'm not one of those people. For me, it seems to be do it all day, or not do it at all. And at this point in my life, the other day I used a model like a pyramid, and you're kind of working as you go through life. You're building foundations as you go up, and if your foundations on the bottom are narrow, then your pyramid is going to be only go so high. And I think with marijuana, for me, it meant that I wasn't able to establish a very good foundation. It's a foundation that I'm working on repairing at the moment. In my late 30s, I'm sort of propelling myself into a career so that I have some financial security and stability in the future to look forward to, when I could have been doing that in my 20s. And, admittedly, there were things that I needed to learn. So for me, marijuana narrowed the base of my pyramid, and so I wasn't able to build a very tall pyramid, and as a result I was unhappy and unfulfilled. So I don't think I'll be going back to marijuana use. It seems to me to be an immature life choice to make it a thing that you do a lot of. And the things that I used to think were cool about it, when I wrote my book, I came to the conclusion while I was writing my book that I had been holding on to a teenager's dream throughout my teenage years, through my 20s, and then into my 30s. And I realized that, and I realized that was why I had felt that disconnect, where I was versus, where I wanted to be, where I thought I should be by 38. Certainly by 40. So, to the people who want to continue to smoke or who disagree with that decision, have at it. But I don't think it's for me. I think like with alcohol, I can have a couple of beers and then not want to drink it all during the week and not be interested in drinking it all during the week. Same goes for mushrooms or LSD. I can do those drugs, Molly. I can do those drugs once in a blue moon and enjoy it, and then put it away and not make it habit forming. But marijuana is not one of those drugs. It's one of the drugs that I have to continue, like my dad. He was a functional alcoholic. I was a functional marijuana addict. And by functional, I mean barely functional. As far as video games go, there are two things that pop up in mind. The first thing is how expensive it is as a hobby, and how it doesn't leave you with a lot of things to show for it. You have experiences, and you have fun, and if you're playing it socially, you've got that social element. But most of the video gaming that I did was by myself, so I didn't have the social element. I wasn't buying collector's editions, so I didn't really get any swag out of it. And all I was left with was time sunk into something that didn't earn me money, and there was nothing left at the end of it. When I would finish a game, I would have nothing solid or tangible to look at and go, that's a reminder of what I did. With woodworking, you have things that you build. With gardening, you have plants that you tend, and they're tangible. You can feel the effects of your work. But there's not so much of that in video gaming, and ultimately that means that for me it's just a distraction. And there's other distractions that are far less expensive and far less enticing. When I used to have a console over here, I would sit here at work for an hour typing up things that I needed to do, and then I would think to myself, I could just take a break, spend an hour on the Xbox, and I might spend 20 minutes just looking for a game to play before I'd even played a game. That's how bad it was. And then I would spend another 2 hours playing a game and getting nothing out of it, and then thinking to myself, I really should have been working. I should have been doing work. I could have finished all the things that I needed to do by this time, and then I could be wasting time and not feeling guilty about it. So there's that, the expense. And then the other thing about video gaming is it feels like a hobby for someone who's younger. I was out with some in-laws today, and we were talking, just talking to my sister-in-law actually, about giving up some of my hobbies. I said, I sort of put aside video gaming permanently, and she was like, I guess that's something I won't be able to buy you for your birthday. I said, yeah. I said, I put it behind me, and she said, you're growing up. And we laughed about it. It was kind of a dig, it was a bit of fun. But I thought about that, and I was like, it is. There is something to me. There is something childish about playing video games. In the same way that children's games don't necessarily leave you with anything tangible, video games are the same way. They don't leave you with anything tangible, and I think that may be why I connect them to immaturity and childishness. And it's fine for people who want to play games. I wouldn't stand in anyone's way. But for me, it's childish to put hours of your day into a thing that has no tangible output, no tangible results of the time that you've spent. And that's what I see the most with people who regret video gaming, is they're like, I spent hours of my time doing this thing and I got nothing to show for it. And the people who do have something to show for the time that you spend in a game don't know you, and it doesn't benefit you. It benefits the people who made the game and the shareholders who have money invested in those companies, and the like League of Legends. At the end of the day, unless you decide to go professional, who's getting the benefit of you playing that game? The game developers. And if your hobby is making games for people to play so that you can sell it to them, then please carry on. That's a good hobby. But to be a user, to be an end user of video games, to me, is immature. It's how it's starting to feel. And the idea of going back to it just doesn't really interest me. And I think the older that I get, the more that feeling sort of sinks in. So, yeah. So for anyone watching, that's the point that I wanted to make. It's late, but I wanted to get this video out before tomorrow so that I didn't have to do 2 tomorrow. And yeah, so thank you for the question. Let's see, what was his name? 8ball181 hand. It was a good thing to think about, and I'm glad you asked it. Anyway, real quick, as far as the day goes, we had an in-laws dinner. It was nice to sit down with the mother-in-law and the sister-in-law and have a feed. And the game that I had this morning was excruciating. My ankles are completely fucked, so I'm gonna be nursing them for the next 3 days. But it's all money towards the vacation, so it's time and energy well spent. See, and there's a hobby that doesn't have a tangible output, and yet I feel like refereeing develops me into a better person. Video gaming never developed me into a better person. So there are some hobbies that you can get into that don't have tangible output or results that are still more beneficial to you. And I think for me, refereeing is that one. It's more about personal development, and I never got that out of video games. I never felt like I was getting better as a person playing a game. Anyway, that's it for me. Ka kite.